You hear about them parties? Nah, that wasn't for me. No, sir.
It's 2020, y'all. Yeah. And it's different than when it was 2016.
You ever notice how quiet Jay-Z gets when the heat's on? Well, Beanie Sigel just broke that silence. And what he's saying could flip everything we thought we knew about HOV. With Diddy reportedly facing life, and now allegedly naming names to cut a deal, rumors are swirling that Jay might be next. But here's the twist. Beanie claims this goes way back to the 90s, and if what he's saying is true, Jay might want to start running before it's too late. The man once seen as a kingmaker, who controlled careers, connections, and club access from coast to coast, is now rumored to be cooperating with federal authorities. Why? To save himself. This isn't gossip. According to multiple insider leaks, Diddy is allegedly preparing to flip, offering information to prosecutors in hopes of reducing the devastating charges stacked against him. And when someone at his level starts talking, they don't just name unknowns or local dealers. They name titans. They name legends. They name the people we've all believed were above the law. And at the top of that rumored list, Sean Carter, Jay-Z. This rumor hit the internet like a bomb. The idea that Jay-Z, the clean-cut billionaire, former president of Def Jam, Roc Nation founder, and husband to Beyoncé, could be entangled in anything from Diddy's alleged dark past seemed unthinkable at first. But then the puzzle pieces started falling into place. Think back. Jay and Diddy weren't just industry acquaintances. For years, they were inseparable, co-hosting New Year's Eve events, collaborating on major business deals, even being spotted together at private parties the public barely knew existed. And while they never had a formal business partnership, insiders always hinted that their real alliance was off the books, in back rooms behind closed doors, where no cameras were allowed. But that alliance may have fractured in the worst way possible. In the middle of Diddy's firestorm, Jay-Z's legal team released a statement through attorney Alex Spiro, making it clear that Jay was distancing himself from his former friend. The statement emphasized that Jay-Z and Diddy were never close friends, just industry professionals who knew each other casually. If that sounds like damage control, that's because it probably is. Because at the same time Jay was walking away, Diddy was allegedly compiling names, ready to offer up information, potentially from as far back as the late 1990s, to avoid going down alone. And if that includes Jay-Z, it raises huge questions. What exactly does Diddy know about Jay? What was Jay involved in back in those wild, unregulated days of hip-hop's golden era? And most importantly, why is Jay-Z suddenly silent? We've seen this before in Hollywood, politics, and the music industry. When someone starts talking, the people around them either lawyer up or run silent. Jay did both. He cut the cord, scrubbed appearances, and had his lawyer speak on his behalf. And for Beanie Sigel, who's been watching Jay from the shadows for years, that silence spoke volumes. Diddy flipping might be the match, but Jay's the one sitting on the powder keg. And the thing is, this wasn't entirely unexpected. Diddy's been in meltdown mode. Last year, his son Christian Combs dropped a diss track titled Pick a Side, where he warned his dad's celebrity friends to stand by him. Or else. The threat was clear. Silence would be seen as betrayal. Jay-Z chose silence. He didn't speak out, didn't show support, didn't reach out. Instead, he sent a lawyer to publicly disavow their friendship. Sources say that was the final straw for Diddy. And now, with everything to lose, Diddy might be preparing to unleash a level of industry truth that hip-hop and the world isn't ready for. From house parties to backroom deals, from record label moves to rumored cover-ups. If Diddy speaks, everyone who thought they were untouchable is suddenly vulnerable. And according to people close to the situation, Jay is terrified. Because Diddy doesn't just know the headlines, he knows the bodies buried under the floorboards. He knows who was in the rooms no one talks about. He knows who kept quiet, who got paid, and who was protected when others got locked up. This isn't just about one scandal. It's about a possible domino effect. And if Jay gets caught in it, the empire he built, the carefully polished brand, the billion-dollar businesses, the mainstream respect could come crumbling down overnight. But there's one man who saw this coming a long time ago, and he's not letting Jay off the hook that easy. As Diddy's legal world spiraled, it wasn't federal documents or media headlines that caught fans off guard. It was a voice from the shadows. A name that hadn't been trending in years, but carried weight with anyone who knew the real history of RocAFella. Beanie Sigel. In an interview, Beanie didn't hesitate. He didn't hedge his words or hide behind metaphors. He looked into the camera and said, "Jay-Z better run." And that wasn't a joke. It wasn't a diss. It was a warning. Because according to Beanie, what Diddy knows could shake the very foundation of Jay-Z's legacy. He hinted at moments from the 90s, private parties, backdoor business moves, and alliances that most fans assumed were innocent, but maybe weren't. This wasn't your average industry beef. This was a man who'd seen too much and finally had a reason to talk. And Beanie wasn't bluffing. He's been quiet for years, but not because he didn't have stories to tell. It's because he knew what those stories could do. And now, with Diddy allegedly cutting deals and feds closing in on old connections, Beanie realized this is the moment. Because when Diddy starts naming names, people are going to start asking questions. And Beanie just made sure Jay-Z would be at the top of that list. Beanie wasn't just a rapper on Jay-Z's label. He was the heartbeat of the streets. Back in the early 2000s, RocAFella was more than a record label. It was a symbol of power, loyalty, and domination. You had Jay-Z as the business mastermind, Dame Dash as the fire starter, and Beanie Sigel as the soldier, the enforcer. Beanie had a presence no one could deny. His voice was raw, his lyrics hit like bricks, and his energy unmatched. With the state property movement, clothing line, and movie brand, he wasn't just part of the team. He was building his own empire. But then things shifted. Behind closed doors, Jay and Dame were clashing. Power struggles brewed. Rumors of buyouts and betrayals circled like vultures. And while Jay was making deals with Def Jam to take control of RocAFella's future, Beanie was caught in the middle, still loyal to both sides. He was a foot soldier stuck in a boardroom war. And when Jay officially took over, everything changed. The phone calls stopped. The meetings dried up. Beanie went from family to outsider almost overnight. And when the heat came down, that's when the real betrayal hit. In 2004, Beanie was facing charges that could have buried him for decades. Gun charges, attempted felonies, state and federal time. The kind of case that swallows men whole. But even with all that weight on his back, Beanie had hope because he thought Jay would show up. Not to bail him out, not to lie in court, just to vouch for one thing, his whereabouts. That's it. Just a character statement to the judge confirming Beanie's schedule, his location, something light that could get him bail. That's all he needed to avoid rotting in a cell while the trial dragged on. And Jay said no. In Beanie's words, he sat shackled in court, waist and ankle cuffs, listening to people like Dame Dash speak for him. But when Jay was asked to step up, he dropped his head and muttered, "No." For Beanie, it wasn't just about legal strategy, it was about respect, loyalty, brotherhood. He had risked everything for RocAFella. He had stood up for Jay when others fell silent. And when his life was on the line, Jay wouldn't even co-sign a calendar. Beanie said it broke something in him. For the first time in his life, he felt like he'd been used and discarded. Not just by a boss, by someone he called Big Bro. And from that moment on, the myth of loyalty in RocAFella was dead. After Beanie was locked up, Jay didn't just disappear. He thrived. He released the Black Album, announced his retirement, then pulled a fast one and returned to music just months later. He became president of Def Jam, struck deals with Samsung, Live Nation, Armand de Brignac, while Beanie sat behind bars forgotten. Beanie's third album, The B. Coming, was a masterpiece, but it came out with no support, no marketing, and no backing. Jay didn't tweet it, didn't promote it, didn't even acknowledge it. Then came a detail that truly opened eyes. Jay-Z dropped a new album every time Beanie dropped his. Coincidence? Maybe once, twice, a pattern, 3 or 4 times. It looked deliberate. Beanie started to realize something chilling. He was being suppressed from the inside, not by competition, by the person who signed him, the person who owned his release schedule. Jay wasn't just letting Beanie fail, he was making sure of it. By 2009, Beanie had had enough. He dropped What You Talkin' About, and it was a full-on strike at Jay's reputation. Beanie accused him of betrayal, of being fake, of hiding behind corporate walls while others caught the heat. He called out Jay for boosting his own image off the backs of real street dudes, only to cut them off the moment they weren't profitable. And it wasn't just talk. Beanie came with receipts, including media reports that Jay had security dogs and extra guards when Beanie was around, that Jay had called venues in advance to keep Beanie out. And Jay? He shrugged. In one interview, Jay said Beanie had a label, a clothing line, and was driving 2 Bentleys. He called him ungrateful, blamed him for never going platinum. But what fans noticed most wasn't what Jay said, it was what he didn't deny. He never denied shutting Beanie out. He never denied blocking his moves. He just said Beanie should have done more with what he had. Dame Dash, never one to hold his tongue, finally spoke up, and what he said confirmed everything Beanie suspected. Dame revealed that Jay had strategically blocked Beanie's rise, manipulating him into staying loyal while slowly cutting him off from opportunities. According to Dame, Beanie was supposed to be the next in line, the artist who would carry RocAFella's torch into the next era. But Jay couldn't let that happen, because if Beanie rose, Jay couldn't control the narrative. So Jay did what he does best, played chess. He tied Beanie to the label contractually and shelved him. And Beanie, still loyal, still thinking Jay had his back, turned down a chance to run with Dame. A move he now calls the biggest mistake of his career. Because Dame? He showed up to court. He flew out to see Beanie in prison. He was present. Jay was gone. And now, Beanie sees it clearly. He wasn't shelved by the system. He was shelved by the man he trusted most. Now, fast forward to 2025, and everything's coming full circle. Diddy is reportedly ready to flip. The feds are circling. Allegations are flying. And Jay-Z's name? It's back in the headlines. Because Diddy knows things. Not rumors. Not headlines. Secrets. He knows who was in the room at those wild, off-the-grid parties. Who got protected when the feds started sniffing around in the 90s. Who signed what checks. Who paid off who. And if Jay-Z really was part of that circle, the walls might finally be closing in. For years, Jay has maintained a carefully curated image. Family man, mogul, businessman, philanthropist. But those close to him know, behind the scenes, he's made ruthless moves. And if Diddy spills at all, the public may find out exactly what Jay buried to become HOV. And maybe that's why Beanie's warning was so sharp, so personal, because he's seen this before. When pressure hits, Jay runs quiet. When the crew is in trouble, Jay is gone. And now, the crew might be coming for him. And if Diddy names names, the empire Jay built could fall faster than anyone ever imagined. So what do you think? Is Jay-Z finally facing the consequences of all those silent betrayals? Did Beanie Sigel just speak a truth that's been waiting decades to come out? And if Diddy really does talk, how deep does this go? Let me know in the comments. Is this the start of the end for Jay? Or just more smoke in an industry built on rumors? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and watch the next video, because the past never stays buried, especially in hip-hop.